Okay, also, or if my hand is too far back, that hand's gonna go forward. Okay, you see the bar is really tilted forward. If I'm going to be going over the trap bar deadlift, which is, I believe, becoming more popular even in the more traditional settings. I think that more and more facilities are being aware of the fact that they need more pieces of equipment in order to properly rehab patients, and even more specifically ACLs. The trap bar is a really nice lift because it is a fairly natural motion and really helps to build strength. It's called the trap bar deadlift, but at least in my opinion, I feel like more people gravitate more as of a squat pattern as opposed to a hinge pattern. But some people are just, depending on the patient, but I personally feel like most of my athletes kind of do more of a quad dominant as opposed to a posterior chain. But regardless, it is a really good lower extremity strengthening exercise, and it typically allows the patients to go a little bit heavier, feel safe, and also just load more compared to maybe a squat. Most people, I feel like, can do a higher trap bar deadlift compared to a barbell squat. So I'm going to be going over 5 major points that I make sure I look for and teach before the athlete performs a trap bar deadlift, just so they understand what they should be feeling, what they should be looking for in order to properly perform the lift, so that at the end of the day they get the best bang for their buck and also don't get hurt. So yeah, 5 major points. The first one is going to be your foot position, okay? So when you step in, I always want to make sure they are stepping in right in the middle of the bar. I tell them that this middle circle that kind of holds the plates should be kind of bisecting your feet, okay? That's the biggest thing. And also width-wise, roughly about shoulder width apart, maybe a little bit wider than shoulder width apart depending on how they feel. Again, not everyone's going to be built the same way, okay? So foot position, that's number 1. Number 2 is going to be your hand position. I'll make sure that their hands are right in the middle of the bar. You'll see I'm going to show it from the side angle, but if your hands go too far or too back, it is going to affect how the bar sits, and it won't be very leveled. So when I show you from the side, if the bar is my hand is too far forward, that is going to go to the back. That's not going to feel very good for my lower back. Okay, also, or if my hand is too far back, that hand's going to go forward. Okay, you see the bar is really tilted forward. If I pick it up properly, hands are in the middle of the bar, drive through, you see that this bar is nice and leveled. It's not leaning in any direction, okay? Those are 2 of the major points right there, your foot position and your hand position. Third is gonna be my back, okay? Super important, particularly when you're going heavier weights, but you wanna develop good habits earlier on when they're doing lighter weights. So, feet are set, hand is set. Right now, you'll notice that my back is very rounded. If I try to pick up this weight, because it's not that heavy, I'll be fine. But as the weights get heavier and heavier, you're going to notice that you're probably going to start feeling your back as opposed to in your legs. So here, I always tell them to lock out their spine. So I'll tell them to sit back, lock out their spine like this, then pick up the weight, okay? Here, pick up the weight. I always want to make sure they're finishing the lift. A lot of people will maybe stop right here. Make sure their glutes are squeezed, quads are squeezed at the very top. Make sure they're not thrusting forward. They do not need to thrust forward. Just make sure they're squeezing and finishing at the very top. Okay? Those 3 right there are probably the most essential parts of the lift. Foot position, middle of the bar. Hand position, middle of the bar. Back, lower, especially, the entire back is locked out in neutral before they perform the lift. Okay? If they can do those 2 things well, I'm usually really happy with that. The other 2 are going to be more towards the detail-oriented, and particularly when you're talking about lifting heavier weights, okay? So the first one is going to be taking out the slack and building tension in your body. Those 2 do go hand in hand. The way that someone explained it to me is that, at least for us, this trap bar is 52.5 pounds. I have 2 25-pound plates on here. That is 102.5 pounds. When someone explained it to me, they told me that you want to pick up, for at least in this situation, 101.5 pounds. So literally, 1%, 1 pound less than it takes to actually pick up the entire weight, because you need, essentially, relatively speaking, 103 pounds to pick up 102.5. So in this situation, I'm building tension of right before the bar is about to pick up, building tension in my core, in my back, in my entire body before I pick it up. You will hear a little click, at least in ours, and I do think in other trap bars as well. I'm gonna see if you can hear that. So if I'm building tension, foot, hand, back, locked. If I'm building tension, if you hear that click, right before, then I pick up, okay? Okay. Again, the reason why is because when you get into heavier weights, you can do everything well. You might not be able to pick up as heavier weights if you're not building up enough tension. So if I'm here and this is a really heavy weight and I'm not taking out that slack and I just kind of go into it, that can make it harder. So you want to make sure you're putting your body in an optimal position before you perform the lift. Even more so important when you're picking up heavier weights. The last thing I'm going to go over is more so your neck position. Okay. Again, from the side angle, if there's a mirror in front of me and I'm trying to perform my lift, particularly again when it's heavier, and I'm going like this, everything else is set. My back is set, everything is set. I take out the slack. My head is here, try to pick up the weights. Okay, if it's a heavier weight, that could potentially strain my neck. Okay, I tell people instead of looking up at the mirror, you're looking down at the ground, forward and at the ground. So you see my neck position here, neck is here as opposed to here. Okay, down, up, up. Okay, so it just kind of protects your neck just as much as I talk about locking out your spine to protect your back. Those are kind of the major points I look for. Again, I make sure that I'm educating my athletes before they get into heavier weights to do these 5 things well, so that when they get to the heavier weights, they understand, wow, there's a 5-point checklist I need to do before I finish or before I perform my lift. I always start with no weight on the bar. I might put blocks on the side so that they can pick it up from the blocks as opposed to the ground, because with no weight, it's really, really low, so it's hard to kind of protect your back that way. But if you just raise it up a little bit, they usually can find that a little more tolerable. So yeah, those are the 5 major points. Just again to review: foot position, middle of the bar, roughly shoulder width to a little wider than shoulder width apart. Hands right in the middle of the bar. Third is your back, your spine, making sure you're locking out your spine before you perform the lift. 4 is building tension before you do the lift and taking out the slack. 5 is your neck position, looking a little more straight towards the ground as opposed to up towards the mirror. So yeah, that is the trap bar deadlift breakdown. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching today's video. Please feel free to like and subscribe and share it on your social media platforms. If you're interested, I have started an ACO Mastermind group, which is a growing library of content centered around ACO rehab. It has exercises ranging from immediate post-op to late-stage sports-specific movements and everything in between. It's a growing library and currently holds over 250 videos. There's content centered around assessments, movement breakdowns, exercise breakdowns, case studies, and a whole lot more. You also gain access to a private forum where you can engage with like-minded people, ask questions, share research articles, and share resources. If you're interested, please feel free to click the link below. Thank you for watching.